was wondering if maybe go to a little less heavy topic for
Sure.
this. Do do a different topic. Since this is your first time back, and I thought we could do. I had a very powerful dream uh last evening, like incredibly um powerful. I'd like to, if you would indulge me again, and we could do an episode of my Dharma dreaming, or I might call it Dharma, might do a new series of Dharma dream dialogues or something like that, for when we actually discuss it, rather than just my reflection.
Mm.
I'll just save Dharma dreaming for my reflections on it and do, like, I don't know, dream Dialoguin or something for the Dharma dream dialogue,
Sure.
something like that for these kinds of sessions. So, all right, I'll quickly set the stage. Basically, so again, I don't know whether this was one dream or a series of dreams that I had last night, but um, so the narrative might have taken place over the course of one dream or a series of dreams through the night. But I think I've kind of got it in the order, and again, that could be iffy as well. When
Sure.
certain things happened when, but anyway, so overall in the dream, I was sort of at work. Um, Only I was physically at work somewhere, whereas for years now it's mostly been obviously remote working, hybrid, but mostly
Mm.
remote
Yeah.
working. But this was all physical, but I was doing similar things that I would be just doing remotely, but in the office, live with people. It seemed like it was much more, where I'd be on the phone with people about something, I was doing it in person, you know,
Hmm.
or on some big screen or something. Like, it was all a bit larger than life, kind of happening, but mostly in person type stuff. And then in the middle of
Hmm.
this, trying to do that's the normal things I would do in my day, which is, I'm student support basically is what I do,
Hmm.
and advice. And you know in the middle of that, I'm helping a lot with IT stuff. I'm no IT, you know,
Yeah.
or anything, but I can do basic things, which for a lot of people, it's not,
Makes you a genius. Makes you a wizard.
basic. So literally, I've been for years, whatever role I've had at my current employer, that has been one of my sort of informal, and then kind of formalized roles, turning me into an IT rep or whatever for the whatever department I was in. But anyway, so
Hmm.
in the midst of these normal things, there's all this chaos bursting forth of IT issues through this whole, it was a massive office too. Like, where I work, it's not a mass, like the office is not a massive thing,
Yeah.
but in this dream, it was this big round, do you know what I mean? Just giant, partly ultra modern and partly just really old kind of, you know what I mean,
Uh-huh.
thing. And so it was just in the midst of all this, things going along, suddenly, there's an issue over here and I'm trying to help over here and all this. And the and at one point, when I was actually trying to, fix something, one of the IT issues, I was literally physically, like, this is another thing, is mostly just, online kind of stuff I'm doing, software, whatever,
Uh-huh.
connectivity, but this was like hardware stuff I was like trying to fix. And I was supposed to be at a meeting, and I had colleagues saying, Scott, you're supposed to be in this meeting. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I can't be in two places at once here. So anyway, so literally I'm trying to fix this, and it turned, like, how basically my job with this IT stuff is putting out fires sometimes. Well,
Yeah.
literally, in a figurative sense. Well, literally I was putting out a fire. There was sparks flying. There was liquid nearby. There was water all,
Oh man.
you know, there was fire and water, interestingly, at the same time. So that was the first thing that was an interesting thing there. Peril, perilous, fire, water, you know,
Mm.
electrifying,
Hmm.
so this was happening. And then at some point, either it was another dream or the dream shifted in the midst of this very hectic, samsaric day I was kind of having. And I was suddenly in this kind of a beautiful park at night, sort of springtime ish, maybe summer,
Mm. Mhm.
but beautiful night. Very that really peaceful kind of feeling when you're I sensed it was in
Yeah.
an urban area. This was in an urban place, but
Uh-huh.
there's that sense, in the park where there's this peacefulness kind of, and it was silent
Yeah.
and peaceful, beautiful, clear, starry sky. And I came to this area that was kind of, again, kind of this round kind of area of the park. Big,
Hmm.
beautiful tree in the middle of this area, that was suddenly, and I was like, wow, look at that. That's a magnificent, old,
Yeah.
ancient, beautiful evergreen. It was an evergreen, actually, type of tree. But that kind of the type of evergreen seemed to change, you know,
Uh-huh.
from the classic kind of, Christmas tree type thing to, like South American pine conifer
Mm.
to
Hmm.
Japanese, or do you know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
shifting. And um in the dream, I wasn't realizing that, though. It was only afterward I was like, that was, in the dream, that was just, it was all
Yeah.
normal for some, in the, your dream mind, it's all kind of normal. Well, as I'm, looking at this a magnificent tree and just taking in, I love that peacefulness at night. That's how I feel. Every night at my home, I live, well, technically it's a city, but it's really a town. It's a city. I live in a city because it has a cathedral, but really it's just a
Yeah.
big in England where I live. And
Hmm.
but it's a pretty major town, historically ancient, really.
Hmm.
And I mean, there's Roman ruins here. So do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
cool. Yeah.
So it's, but it's big. But at night, when I go out on my deck out back in my back garden, and it's so peaceful where we, kind of where we live.
Ah,
The
yeah.
city, you can see the city lights, but there's that peacefulness. And every night I go out, even if it's only
That's
for a few
nice.
seconds, to take that in. And that was the feeling in this park.
Yeah.
Suddenly, out
Yeah.
of this chaos of work, and I was at this beautiful nighttime, you know, and as I'm admiring this tree, there's this gentleman and his child were walking up toward the tree, you know, and they're
Uh-huh.
approaching, and I kind of see them out of the corner of my eye, and then they're kind of coming, so it's right in front of me, and they're gonna be passing by. But as they're coming closer, I'm like, okay, I noticed that he's kind of a South Asian, gentleman, probably in his 30s, somewhere thereabouts, and he has a child with him walking. And as he gets closer, I see he's pretty fit, person, looks,
Yeah.
might be athletic or something. And as he gets closer, I see the face, and then I see the hair, and I start thinking, am I like picking up on some 32 marks here? Do you know what I mean? Like I'm like the way his hair was. He had the
Uh-huh.
protuberance,
Yeah.
the on the, the top knot and the
Yeah.
protuberance, So I was like, and then I realized, like, and this was in the dream. This is Shakyamuni. This is
Yeah.
walking through the park, and it was a
Yeah.
modern, today in this world, which is another beautiful thing. It was now,
Uh-huh.
it was here and now. It was,
Yeah.
modern times, and here he was walking in regular sort of very nice, clothing, kind of, but of someone that's business casual, but someone that's on holiday type of clothing, short
Hmm.
sleeves, with shirt, but very, you know, you know, very, just, probably the best clothes and the best, do you know what I mean? Style
Yeah.
that, whatever. Anyway, so, and I realized this, and he's come to admire the tree, and with his child, and he's sort of just kind of pointing to the tree, and I just am like kind of blown away at that moment. I literally go into, down to my knees in gasho,
Hmm.
just sort of acknowledging, and just, just, as you would when, when I can't really even
Yeah.
describe how I kind of felt at that moment in the dream. Not just because it was a dream, but because of the moment that it was.
Hmm.
So, and then, so that, and like I said, there's this, the thing that I want to say is the sense of peace and still and calm and clarity of that whole part of this dream, or this individual dream, whatever it was, beyond description, beyond probably anything I've ever
Hmm.
experienced in my life.
Hmm.
I was giving that analogy of when I go out on my deck just as a kind of, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anyway, so then, um, either the dream shifts, or um or it's another dream, but I'm back to I'm back to samsara in Mappo, but it even worse. Like, not just the daily, everyday kind of Mappo kind of situation, but like probably future Mappo kind of,
Yeah.
like I'm at some kind of war prisoner camp,
Mm.
or re-education camp, or
Yeah.
something like that.
That
And
would that would be like today's motto.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or
thanks.
yes,
Or
last
yeah,
century's motto.
or in the very near future, Mappo, or whatever,
Yeah.
but or even today, yeah. But anyway,
Always, always
not so
motto.
far in the past, kind of thing. Anyway, so yeah, but so so yes, and there's all the things that you could imagine happening at such a camp. I won't go into detail.
Hmm.
It was horrid. It was horrid. When I woke up, it was again similar to
Yeah.
um, a dream that I talked about previously about visiting, one of the, that sort of bodhisattva,
Hmm.
speaking of merit transference for the return, I got that glimpse of, going to different worlds, and, one of the worlds was one of the hells. And it was similar to that feeling when I
Yeah.
woke up. There was
Yeah.
also either part of that same part of the dream, or a new part of the dream, or a new dream in the same night. Uh, there was a similar thing. There were similar horrible things going on to animals. I'll just put it that way. Just really, just
Hmm.
hard things like euthanasia stuff in this dream in really horrible ways. And again, so anyway, so there was the first half of the dream, was the work madness, craziness, with that little hint of water, fire, you know,
Hmm.
with this electrifying paths right between, you know. But it was the crazy, just everyday workday samsara mappo thing.
Yeah.
Can't be in two places at once. Nothing's ever ideal. I can't really help. I can't really do my job the way I want to do it, to help people the way I want
Yeah.
to help them. I can't really
Dukkha.
fix things the way,
Deep,
exactly. I can't
deep,
fix
deep,
things the way I want to
deep
fix them.
dukkha.
Yeah. And then the other end, but in between, so then the other end was what I just described, but in between there was this clear space,
Yeah.
here and now, and
Yeah.
Shakyamuni Buddha appears in modern clothing with one of his children.
Yeah. I think
So
it's so cool that you are blessed to have these vivid and you know, interesting dreams. I mean, when I dream, it's about my ex-girlfriends. I don't have these Dharma dreams, but um, yeah, I think the it's interesting because like the first scene you had is like what most of us experience in life, right? I mean, the the dukkha of it all, the very what we typically would refer to as samsara and the whole frustrations and just things getting out of control and you know but then the second part of your dream, if I may, I hope you don't mind if I sort of share my thoughts or my,
please, no, that's what
not
I'm inviting. I'm inviting you to
not
do so.
my. Oh, okay, yeah, and I'm not like giving an interpretation or anything.
No,
I'm just
yeah,
sharing how it strikes
reflections.
me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the second part is like the opposite of dukkha is like sukha, right? So the Pure Land in Sanskrit is called Sukhavati. And
Yes.
Sukha means land of of bliss, land of peace and bliss. In Japanese and Chinese, it's Onraku. So Onraku Jodo is land of peace and happiness, land of peace and joy, land of peace and bliss. And so you sort of got a little glimpse of Sukha in that middle part where you met Shakyamuni, and it also
I still
reminded me
can't
of
believe it. I'm just blown away when I realized, when I woke up. In addition to like trying to
yeah,
shake off the really horrible things in the third part of the dream, like just
yeah,
anyway, yeah,
and also it reminded me too, like the fact that Shakyamuni was in like you said he's like in modern clothes and it's a modern
yes,
setting, and that reminded me of when Shinran says we are surrounded by Buddhas a hundredfold, a thousandfold, inconceivable numbers of Buddhas surround and protect us or watch over us. And that sort of made me think of that, because we have there are bodhisattvas in disguise, all around us in our daily life. There are, the Buddhas are working. The bodhisattva is, just the Buddha in action, right? Um, at the bodhisattva that has truly realized, you know, uh, had the true realization is essentially, you know, a Buddha already. Just the bodhisattva is like the Buddha's um, form here that he takes to help, right?
yeah,
So so we're surrounded by Buddhas, by bodhisattvas that are, innumerable in number, Shinran says. So that's something that came to mind. And then the other thing, finally, is that you sort of saw a glimpse of one of the Narakas, or the the hells on earth that
yes,
unfortunately so many of them seem to be of our own making. And
yes, exactly, yeah,
Ginshin Kasho, the author of the Ojo Yoshu, um, he discusses, that book is famous for its vivid descriptions of hell and and all of this, and that gave rise to in Japanese culture the Hell Scrolls, which are these incredibly graphic and vivid
detailed.
depictions of all the torments and things that happen to people in the afterlife, right? But Genshin also in that work says that, anywhere that there is suffering and, you know, uh, torment, wherever it may be, can be said to be hell, right? So, like a concentration camp with horrible things happening, or, you know, a slaughterhouse, or whatever. I mean, we just pick up the newspaper and I'm sure you'll find plenty of hells, um,
Exactly.
in
Exactly.
anywhere where there isn't where there isn't, peace and bliss and so on is kind of a hell, a Naraka, right? So those are just some thoughts I had from from listening to your dream, and I think it's really amazing dream because you kind of went through three like phases,
Yes, yes,
as it were.
yeah. And I did wonder that the last part, the latter dream or the last part of the dream, what I did wonder, and when I woke up, it was that kind of like a another Naraka that I had visited again. I did wonder that. It was one of the it just in
That's
some
how
kind
it
of
struck me,
form that I
certainly,
could
or interpreted.
understand. Yeah, in a form that I could understand it. It was this, it was that kind of prisoner of war camp, or yeah,
Yeah.
or and then the slaughterhouse was kind of but
Hmm.
again, I meant to say also in that third part of the dream or that third dream, there was
Yeah.
there was another thing that happened in between both the 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 sort of concentration camp slash prisoner of war camp or re-education camp, whatever it was, and
Hmm.
the slaughterhouse, euthanization of the. There was this in between bit where it was it was um, kind of set in the same time period, whatever it was, but
Hmm.
whenever that was, but none of that was going on. I forgot about this. I forgot to mention this whole thing, and I forgot about it till just now. There was this whole sort of thing where I was kind of reunited with all these people from my life, um,
Hmm.
and it was like this, almost like this fellowship of people, like it was just, or this reunion
Hmm.
of people, and
Hmm.
it didn't seem to matter if it was for better or for worse, uh, the
Yeah.
types of these people in my life. It seemed to be just, it was okay. Whoever was there, it was okay. We're all reunited. It was like in this old house kind of thing, in this old neighborhood, kind of like the old neighborhood kind of feel, you know, yeah,
Hmm.
back in the old neighborhood, type of thing, um, with like a street party type of feel, but not too crazy,
Hmm.
just kind of relaxed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was so there was
Uh-huh.
that. I forgot about that whole thing in between. So you had in the first dream, you had that, in the midst of all that, the fire, the water, the electrifying, path in
Yeah.
between. And then in this dream, you had that, those two horrible things sandwiched with, around this kind of
Mm.
reuniting, returning kind of thing. So anyway, Sangha, I almost thought,
Yeah, and
was this like supposed to be the
yeah.
Sangha? That's what I thought when I reflected on the dream. Was that so? Anyway, yeah, you had so there was this, and then in between both of those, you had the in between dream of the Sukha
Yeah.
dream,
And
as you say.
it could also be, there's something of the Pure Land in there too, because the Pure Land is said to be the place where we can, meet with all those who have, you know, touched our lives in some
Mm.
way and in
Mm.
which, you know. So I think that the reuniting experience that you said was there was is very much a part of what it is, Pure Land in the Pure Land, there's this reuniting of the scattered uh, elements, as it were, of samsaric experience into uh, perfection, basically. I mean, the Pure Land is um, a world that is perfect, that has been created by Dharmakara, you know, and so um, there's that aspect, I think, in
Of it.
your uh, dream or in
Mm.
that scene there too.
Yeah, it would
And
seem like
especially in
the
Japan,
people I was.
people.
Oh, yeah. Good. The thing that just quickly,
I was just going to say, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So quickly going to say that it seemed like it transcended, like I said, it was reuniting with, you know, friends, enemies, family
Yeah,
of all kinds of, you know, families you might, not
yeah.
necessarily want to be reunited with, and those that you wanted to.
What
It
are you
seemed to
doing here in the
transcend.
afterlife? No, I'm
It
kidding.
seemed to trans. What's that? So,
Oh, I was just gonna say, what are you doing here in the afterlife?
yeah. And it seemed to just transcend that. It didn't seem to matter what type of relationship I had with them.
Hmm.
It was okay, whatever they were represented or were, or it seemed like, you know,
Yeah.
it was.
Well, let's face it, sometimes human relations can be stressful in
Hmm.
this in
But
our
there was none of
present
that. I believe me, I have plenty of
world.
those types of family dreams, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
past, people
yeah,
you've had past, encounters or friendships or whatever, or
yeah.
association with, and having really stressful dreams about those kinds of situations.
Hmm.
But I've had that, but this was the same types of people that would have been stressful, but it wasn't. It was just kind of everybody's
Yeah.
here doing their thing, and I was
Oh,
kind of
maybe
just
that was a
neutral. It
glimpse
was
of
kind of neutral. Everyone was just. It was like a
yeah, yeah.
anyway. But yeah. So
Could be a
continue with
glimpse
your
of
thought, though. You said about
oh, I was just going to say in
say
Japan,
Japan. Yeah.
the popular understanding of the Pure Land is that it's, a place where you meet your ancestors and, you know, are sort of reunited with your can be reunited with your family. But and then the other thing I was going to say is maybe that sense you had of was, a little taste of being free from the kleshas, because obviously, as we know, much of the world and our relationships to it is muchly determined by our minds,
Mm.
and so um, we sort of reap what we sow in terms of consciousness within this world, and so sometimes people are surprised why do I have such trouble with people and all this and sometimes the lies within. It's our own
Yep.
bono that make
Exactly.
things difficult.
Exactly. And like so, it was like I got a glimpse of being free of all that kind of. I got a glimpse
Yeah,
of
kind of. That's how it struck me.
how you can. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's a
Because the Buddha, if you think
good
about it,
insight. I
Shakyamuni,
think. Yeah.
Shakyamuni, when he spoke to people and approached people, said that every morning, the Buddha would think, oh, he would meditate on who today needed his guidance, who needed his teaching, who needed his help, essentially, on the spiritual path. And then he would go and into that person and then benefit them in some way. And if you think about it, like um, the Buddha's, relationships with people were totally free of any kind of stress. He was just, uh, because he was giving, echo um, to all people. There was a way in which, you know, those relationships were always positive and beneficial, in ways that I certainly can't always relate to
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
bamboo, as a unenlightened person.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Um, yeah. I mean, that's, I think, probably one of the most difficult. I think it's, that aspect of samsaric existence, I think, has been the most difficult for me.
Hmm.
And has been that the the relating to others, the interactions with others, that has been one of the most, you know, to be honest, has been one of the most
Yeah,
difficult of my of the sufferings and experiences resulting from my own, from my own ignorance, my own karma, my own
yeah,
attachments and aversions,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and whatever karmic ties I have with these people. It has been difficult. Um, has been difficult without getting too much into personal
yeah.
details.
Well, I
But
think that's why the promise of Tanisho is so assuring too, is, once we once we reach that land, that the pure land, and we are become one with the light, as it so poetically puts it, we will benefit all beings, starting with those with whom we have karmic ties.
yeah,
Imagine that,
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's.
And I also think there are people who are being benefited by you right here and now in this world. That's where the aspect of the returning aspect,
That
is starts to
when's
make
that happening?
itself,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
There's I know I certainly experienced returnees from the Pure Land in my life.
Hmm.
And so there's this polarity, as it were, with the Ginso and Oso
Yeah, going
aspects
back.
of
That's
the
exactly.
directing of virtue.
I thinking of the mind stream. I was going to save this till we had that second session to
Yeah,
from Shaku Brothers about when we were discussing the merit transference for going forth. We started to get into this territory. At the end of that, I was going to save
yeah,
that for
yeah.
that discussion. That you think of the mind stream, and when I think of you know uh uh Oso echo and Genso echo, I see this like pulsating thing kind of pulsating back and forth, it kind of going both directions. It's kind of, do you know what I mean? I've got a, can you hear me okay? Don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear? Oh, it looks like there's a bit of delay.
Yeah, can you repeat the last thing you said? There was a little problem, I think, in
Yeah, I
the
think
in the
it
network.
went. So where did I get? What did you? What was the
Yeah,
last
it
thing?
glitched out right
Okay.
where you started discussing the mind stream.
So yeah, so with the get with the mind stream, and I have this image with Genso, Oso echo and Genso echo of this pulsating, energy kind of going, kind of boat,
Mm, yeah, alternating
which
current.
which way is it? Which way is it coming from? And you just it starts to, you know what I mean? It all starts to blur when I
Yeah.
start to think about, okay, you got Amita's good causes from the past going on, and then you've got the merit transference going forth, but then the merit transferring back, and where's this all